tell them, check out the blog, bro. YouTube channel called MKO. It's pugilism, boxing algorithm. M stand for Marvin and Kevin's initials KO. Yeah, go tell them, check out. Yes, ladies and gentlemen, this is MKO Pugilism, talking all things boxing. Do hope you're all well, you know, with your families and everything during this COVID-19 pandemic thing. And yeah, this one here, I'm just going to speak to you briefly about Keith Thurman, his interview that he had recently about a day or two ago on FightHype.com, where he spoke on numerous fighters. And firstly, I'll just speak to you about what piqued my interest, which was the sort of soundbite from the interview, which wherein Keith Thurman said, "Send a contract. Tell Terence Crawford he knows he can get it. Send the contract." Now, for me, that really piqued my interest. That really, that was a good one. I like the sound of that, because I felt that, wow, you know, we might get something on here when boxing resumes, and it would indeed be a great fight for both men. Good fight for Terence Crawford to get his hands on someone like Keith Thurman, former sort of unified welterweight champion. It would be a good time to get his hands on him, and it would be a fight that, you know, I'd say most definitely Terence Crawford needs. He's in need of a big fight against one of these top guys. One of them needs to step up and fight him. So yeah, it would be great, and also a great one for Keith Thurman. It would be jumping right in the deep end for him. So yeah, this really intrigued me, and upon listening further to the interview, you know, watching the whole thing on the Fight Hype, you know, it was interesting. But what sort of disappointed me about it was that it wasn't a direct call out. You know, when you watch the whole thing, you come to realize that what Thurman was saying was more nuanced and a bit more sort of talking in kind of circles in a way. He was kind of talking in circles, because he was saying, yeah, send me the contract, but then he sort of went on to speak about, yeah, but you know, for political reasons, there's other fighters out there, you know, the Garcia rematch is out there, you know, that would be a good fight. And he was talking about, yeah, he'd be happy to fight Garcia again. And my thing is, you know, it's almost like he's reading from a script in a way, like reading from his handler's script in a way, like, you know, because I don't get it at all. Why on earth you would want to fight a Danny Garcia who you've already beaten a year or a few years ago? You know, what you would gain from that, I have no idea. You know, you only get a short career in boxing, so why you'd want to go and fight a guy who you've already beaten pretty convincingly is beyond me. Don't understand why you'd want to do that. You know, that sounds like something maybe his handlers would say. You know, if you're managing him, you might say, yeah, let's do that to have a warm-up and then bring him onto the big boys later on. You know, he also spoke about Garcia. He also spoke about Spence, and said, you know, if he had the opportunity to fight Crawford or Spence, then he would choose Spence, because Spence has got he's got more belts, which in that regard I do agree with him, that, you know, if you're gonna take a risk, you're gonna fight somebody. Yes, Spence would be the main one that you'd need to take out. If you want to take over the welterweight division, then I'd have to agree with him that Errol Spence, being that he's got the most belts and everything, and you know, he'd be the one that you'd want to take out. You'd have you'd be a unified champion then. So I do understand that. But then he spoke about Crawford, and what disappointed me was that he was kind of dismissive of Crawford in a way. You know, he spoke quite he spoke quite, I suppose you could say, lowly, or he kind of made light of Crawford's WBO title, and that rung a bell. You know, that raised a red flag in my head immediately, because as I understand it, from what I understand, the PBC, like Al Heyman's organization, they've decided maybe about a year ago or something that they're not going to recognize the WBO as a world title. They've decided, they're going to just dismiss it. They're not going to recognize it, and I suppose they're not going to direct their fighters to fight for the WBO title. They're just going to sort of dismiss it altogether. So that kind of was, I haven't heard that type of talk from Keith Thurman prior to that, so that was a bit of a disturbing thing, really, because at the end of the day, it's in a way it's about belts. You do want to unify, you do want to win all the belts you can, but it's more so about the fighters themselves. At the end of the day, Thurman, good fighter, only one loss on his record, and that, Terence Crawford undefeated, Errol Spence undefeated. It's not just a straightforward thing you can say, where you can sort of say, well, he's got one belt, he's got two, so therefore he's the one with more belts is automatically better. It doesn't work like that. At the end of the day, it's all got to be sorted out, and it's all got to be proven in the ring. So it kind of bothered me a bit that Thurman was sort of saying, well, I'm not really that keen on fighting for that belt that Terence Crawford represents. I'm not really keen on fighting for that organization's belt. And I'm thinking to myself, but at the end of the day, it's not really about the organization. It's about who holds the belt. It's about that fighter that holds the belt, is regarded very highly as one of the pound for pound best in the world. He must know that, Crawford is an exceptional fighter. So I don't understand why he's busy sort of trying to dismiss the belt organization that, the WBO belt that Crawford sort of holds. I mean, I don't see why a fighter would be worried about, what belt you hold. In my view, he should be worried about, well, he's one of the best welterweights, I'm one of the best welterweights. I want to prove myself against the best, and that, to me, that should be enough. That should be all the motivation you need to want to fight him. And it was all a bit contradictory in a way, because in one breath he's saying, send a contract and you can watch me sign it. If you watch the interview, these are his words that he said. But then in another breath he's saying, well, I'm not really that keen on fighting for that organization's belt that he holds. And to me, I don't like to hear fighters speaking like that, because I think, we need to just forget the silly politics about who promotes you, who promotes me, what organization you have, do you have sway with this organization or that. I think as fighters, they just need to fight each other. Crawford's one of the best. He's one of the, Thurman's one of the best too. I don't see the problem. I think as a boxer, you should be keen to take on a guy because he's one of the best, not because he holds a particular organization or he's associated or affiliated with a particular manager or whatever. And a lot of this interview sort of spiraled off into this sort of political talk of, what fight is easier to make politically, and, I want to keep myself with my sort of people and my management, and it's very sort of, that's kind of the sad thing about boxing these days, is a lot of these fighters now are talking more like politicians than boxers who just want to fight the best and get in the ring with the best and beat the best. Now a lot of them, including Thurman in this interview, is talking a lot like a politician, sort of trying to calculate things rather than just, I'd have a Crawford fight tomorrow. That's the type of talk you want to hear from fighters. But anyway, I suppose it is what it is. It's all at this point in time, it's all hypothetical anyway. It's one of these things where Ultimately, we're all just gonna have to sit back, wait and see. You know, the boxers are just gonna have to sort of tick over, just keep training, do whatever they can do at this moment until boxing resumes. But you know, me as a fan, I do hope that we do get to see, you know, Thurman, who is one of the best, you know, in there with the guys like Crawford, Spence, and the rest of them, you know. So yeah, we'll see what happens in Thurman's career going forward. And yeah, until next time, this is MKO Pugilism, over and out.